knowing that we are more viruses and bacteria than we are anything else in our body, and that why would we fear one virus or one bacteria? And that only happens when we're out of balance with nature, out of balance, out of harmony with ourselves, when our immune system has been compromised. And why is that? And can we peel back those layers to help you get to what is your optimal health so that anything that comes your way, you're resilient? Welcome to Harmonic Alignment,
a podcast that explores the new frontier of energy medicine,
bridging the gap between Western medicine and quantum physics,
giving you easy and practical solutions.
Guided by
me, Dr. Larissa Sharipova,
and me, Priscilla Coblentz. Join us on a journey discovering your harmonic alignment. In today's episode, Dr. Larissa Sharipova and myself, Priscilla Coblentz, have a conversation on how I found my voice and created harmonic alignment, the journey from music to health coaching.
Wow, Priscilla, I was happy to come here today and ask you questions about how you end up in the place like this.
How did I get here?
How did you start your career?
Thank you for being here and for letting us, create this space to talk about all the things we love, which is what lights me up. I loved hearing your story about growing up in Russia and working with your mom and your grandma in the garden and using herbs in the household and for healing. When you're saying that, it really struck a chord with me because I grew up next door to my grandmother and she had this amazing garden. And I now look back and say, oh man, I wish I had asked her more questions. I wish I had worked in the garden with her more. One of the things my grandmother did is she had a room full of birds. I'll never forget this. And in the back, there were all birds that are injured that she would rescue. Every time I see a dove, a brown dove, I think of her. She rescued pigeons and the barn swallows. Those were really neat.
So she healed them and let them go?
Yeah. And if they couldn't fly, if they were injured, they just stayed there.
The bird lady.
The bird lady. So from an early age, growing up on a dairy farm and having a garden that was next door, being in nature, I don't think I fully appreciated it because I felt like the first thing I wanted to do was get as far away from that as possible. All people on a journey, we have to move a certain amount of space between us and our family of origin in order to become who we're supposed to be. I think we're so influenced by our family of origin, so that was kind of my journey, was how far away can I get to figure out who I am. That led me into music, and I thought music would be as far away from cows as possible.
Was anybody musical in your family?
My uncle and my grandma were musical. My grandma Kaya has a wonderful voice, and she could yell so loud at basketball games, so I think that's where I get the volume from. I always joke with her. I ended up going to school for music, but always had kind of a balance because I never fit in one group, and I always wanted to explore what everybody else was doing. So that was kind of my story of getting into college and then wanting to be a music major, but then kind of changing and getting more into poli-sci. I met my husband and I ended up moving to Philadelphia in 2003.
Did you try to fit in different groups when you were growing up?
I always had one foot in the music crowd and one foot in the sports crowd and one foot in college, like the government, affairs crowd. So it was always kind of a mix. I would have called myself a seeker, and so I'm just looking for what's next and trying to better understand the world we live in.
And why holistic health and why you were interested in health?
I think it was early 2000s. I came across Dr. McCullough's work, and I remember reading these articles and going, wow, this isn't mainstream. Like, I've been told I have to take an antibiotic for everything, and I was just kind of blown away that he was like, oh no, there's all these other alternatives out there. With the boom of the internet, there was just so much resources now to find other ways of doing things. My mother-in-law was diagnosed with Alzheimer's at 65, and she was being treated at Penn Memory. And I remember thinking, all they're doing is documenting her. They're not really helping her or solving her problem. They're putting her on some drugs, but they don't really seem to be working. And she had scored a 22 on her Menti-Mental test, which is the test to see for cognitive decline, and realizing she was on a statin because of Mercola's work, and that once we took her off the statin, her score went back up. And I thought, holy moly. And then I met a series of people who can't be on statins because it seems to be certain people have a genetic issue with them where they just really shut their brains down. And I think like why we don't make medicine individualized, what works for you may not work for you, even if you have the same diagnosis, you didn't get there the same way. I always use the phrase with working with someone that you are a unique puzzle, that nobody's puzzle goes together the same way, and only you can put your puzzle together, but you can have some guides along the way, and maybe I'm going to be a helpful guide.
I call it by individuality.
I love
so
that.
by individual, and something that works for you, it doesn't work for me.
And that really lights me up right now because we're getting into understanding the genetic testing and understanding like you're not just going to supplement with every supplement. You're going to supplement with the supplement that your body needs extra support with. And we're going to know and completely understand what that means.
And it's not only nutrigenomics, that is what genetics based, but also microbiome can be tested genetically and created specific probiotics that specifically for your box at this point in time.
Right. How incredible is that? That's so incredible.
And
then even then we would even know then maybe certain foods you need to add into that microbiome that you're not getting, or some that you might need to be taking out or limiting.
And AI even helping to come up with the program that is based on what's genetics and testing individual for you as a person. And I'm so excited about personalized medicine. Hopefully it will be adapted to the medical system, but maybe in another 10-20 years.
I love that. And I think that adding in that piece what you and I are both passionate about is energy medicine. And I think that goes back to, my music background, and that's really my journey. I knew that sound was making me feel good. Like singing was also a part of my own medicine. We know now how powerful sound is to help someone heal. And whether that is just a simple hum that can help get you into parasympathetic and out of fight or flight. We talk about the vagus nerve a lot. We talk about all these things like feeling the vibrations in our body, which goes back to something that I really want to nerd out on is water. Because if we're 70% water in our body, maybe 80 or 90, depending on where we're at in the body, how water is affected by sound, affected by vibration, affected by frequency is then, man, it's such an exciting time to be alive because through whether it's sound bowls, tuning forks, your own singing, we can start to shift the physical biology in the body with sound and vibration. And there's no side effects of a supplement or a drug, and why wouldn't you add that in to your health journey?
So you can charge your water by vibration. And you can give yourself back that water by charging from your own body. Like we know about sound healing, like your heart has its own vibration.
Right, heart rate variability.
And if you record that sound of heart and you can give back that sound to yourself, you can use your own power of healing from your own vibration. Give your vibration back by the recording of sound.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So everything is vibration. And
everything is
sources,
vibration.
Like colors, sound, light.
I think one of my aha moments was when I learned about the chakra system and knowing that the root chakra is red and it's all the colors of the rainbow, Roy G. Biv. And I was always wearing a blue scarf, and that's the throat chakra. And so we were choosing our colors and not knowing the unseen that we are coordinating with those. Now we have the instrumentation in modern science to say, they knew about this 2,000 years ago, the different colors and the chakras. And when you can understand that, it all plays in. That not only does a note have a vibrational frequency, but the color blue has a vibrational frequency, and the color green, and the beautiful burgundy red that you're wearing.
And sometimes we pick color without even knowing that.
Yeah.
It's like intuition. It means your body at this point in time need this color. When we go to our closet and like, what I want to wear today? It's all by your feeling and feeling its energy.
And what's really telling is
if
you have a color you're avoiding or you have a color that you hate, like I in the past, whether it's been yellow or orange, And knowing that yellow is about coming into my power and it's digesting, and knowing that I wasn't ready to come into my power, so I was avoiding the yellow. Or orange for a lot of people, a lot of women, because orange is creativity, but it's also the sexual reproductive energy. So I've heard stories of people who've been on the other side of it, where they wear orange all the time and drive an orange car and they're out of whack. It's like all things in balance, right? I tend to wear more blues and greens, and I even had emeralds in my wedding band, not knowing that the emerald was the heart chakra. Even as a child, I had a rock collection, a crystal rock collection, because my mom loved rocks. And then to learn that, you know, there's consciousness, and the rocks and crystals coordinate with the chakras. They coordinate with different energy and frequency in the body, and they can be used in healing, was kind of like, wow. Wow, it's just so exciting and interesting. One of the things I have in my practice is the Solera gem crystal lights. My favorite is the emerald, of course, and it beams a pulse of light through the crystals, and you can put it on a body part that's inflamed. I use them a lot on my cat, who's 19 years old, on her arthritic hips and back, and for her digestion. And sitting under a pulsing light that's in crystal infused can have some incredible regeneration properties on the body. And it sounds so sci-fi, but it's not anymore.
Because we can do research now based on quantum physics, quantum mathematics, how the vibrations and even vibration of our own organ now we can test and see. And we can choose the color of that vibration that resonate with the organ specific, like chakra.
Right.
Why we have different colors? Because each chakra can correspond with different organs. So using anything that can stimulate the specific chakra, or with colors, or with crystals, or with sound, and with everything else that can stimulate chakra, even food. Right?
I've had a whole day where we talked about the chakras, and you realize that you can just eat in the color of that chakra. And I encourage people, if they're starting to explore the colors and the chakras and the sounds, like pick a day and just really focus in on one. And there's mudras, there's hand gestures that go with each. There's a sound vibration. Wear that color that day. Eat food in that particular color. And explore that for you, just to tune it up. Start with red and work your way up.
And it's fun to explore it in a group. I used to have a class that teach different chakras and how you can balance your chakra. So there is a test that you can test your chakras. You answer questions and it comes like, what chakra is disbalanced? Like, what's your chakra is closed? What is open? Because too much open chakra is not good either. So when I start learning all about chakra system and dive deep, my throat chakra was closed. And what happened with me physically, I could not speak. And when I spoke, my voice was so little, tiny, nobody could hear me. And that was because I was expressing my emotions, expressing myself in my marriage. And my chakra was closed because I was not allowed to speak up. So when I start learning about chakra and I start working on my throat chakra, now I have a voice. Now I can speak up for myself, and also I can project and speak to the audience. Before I could not.
You know, it's interesting, in some of my past lives and my understanding of my past lives, that's actually what I came in to work on this lifetime. And so I think the singing was forcing me to repair what I hadn't previously been able to accomplish. And that's why the singing became my thing. And that's, you know, why I really feel kind of this calling is to help others find their voice. Because we can all make very resonant, open chakra, speak our truth. In this new paradigm that we're coming into, this has to be open. Whatever I can do to help support more people to finding your voice, and your note may be different than anyone else's. What is your unique expression of who you're here to be? What is your truth, your path, your journey? And finding a way to love that and not judge it and just be accepting of it.
So do you use that in your practice when you work with clients, like using your voice or working on your voice or working on a throat chakra? How do you use in your practice?
As I went into health coaching, it was more about what foods are great for your body and what supplements, and and what toxins. My two favorite things I always say to people: no aluminum in your deodorant and no fluoride in your toothpaste. I mean, those are the basics. But what I'm finding is, I think more importantly for me, is what's going on their spiritual path, and that's the unseen and the energetic, and that is, how can I help them become the full expression of themselves? So it is becoming more about their understanding of sound and how to use their own voice. I start with what we call a bioenergetic scan, and so there's an energy reading of what's going on in the body, and then you can identify some of those little emotional spots and some of those areas. And then it's, okay, what kind of meditations, what kind of visualizations? And it really is like you're on a journey. One of my favorite questions to ask people is, you are completely well, you have your perfect ideal health, you've achieved it. Now what's going to change in your life? Because I think until you have an understanding that there's a possibility of hope, or there's something on the other side of this, how do you start the journey? Let's start with, what's that end scene? I mean, are you going to be more active with your kids? Would you change your profession? Would you move? If health wasn't something that was constantly this thing that you're working on and you had achieved it, man, what would be next?
Health is not a goal. It's a journey. So health is a journey, not a destination. Destination is something that you want if you're healthy.
Right.
Like, what is your goal by being healthy? What would you do? What would it change?
How would you show up?
Health is not a goal. It's a journey. Health is a journey, not a destination.
I love that. It's not a destination, it's a journey. Well, that ties back into Dr. Zach Bush's work that I love, and the journey of intrinsic health, and that health isn't outside of you. We do mirror work in that program where we say, I am a miracle. I love myself. I am health. And so just planting those seeds to start that journey, to know that it's possible. I think that's the whole thing, is that so many people, by the time they find alternative practitioners, have tried so many different things and they've been on this path for so long, they stop believing.
Yeah.
They keep looking outside of themselves for the answers.
Yeah.
And we're all guilty of it at some point in our journey, where we think somebody knows more than me. I know you know more than me, so I'm coming to you and you're going to help me figure this out. And maybe you guide them and figure it out, but you're helping your client or your patient tap back into their own innate knowing that they are perfect in their iteration. And if there's something that's uncomfortable for them, well, let's put energy toward that and change it. Find their alignment, their harmonic alignment, if you would.
Because you have the whole power to heal yourself. Nobody can heal yourself.
Exactly.
It's your body that's doing it. We just provide a space and also maybe tools, teach people tools to use to tap in that power to heal.
Right.
But first, I think they need to shift their belief and also awareness and mental state. Because if you don't believe in yourself but think somebody will tell you what to do, it will never work. Because if I tell you to do something, maybe it's not what you need.
It's the God factor. I mean, it's how does God show up for you in your life, and do you believe in that there's a higher power for you, and your own individual connection with divinity. It's so funny that it's become so polarized to talk about our relationship with God, but it's what brings so many people peace and joy and a higher connection with themselves, and a better understanding or awareness, and it's that first piece of the journey. I mean, it's the first piece of being human, I think, is who am I and why am I here? And I think when you have God in your life, there is so much more meaning in your life, and there's so much more possibilities of miracles and magic in your life when you connect with that. I don't know if that's
something bigger than you.
Yeah.
Some people don't call it God, some people say universe or something bigger than you.
Right.
Because nobody's in control of you. You in your own control, and you can decide what you want in your healing journey. We're just here to provide the space and educate you about different things.
Tell you what else is out there. Right.
And you take what you feel the best for you. Because it does not resonate with everyone.
I'll go through a list of like 10 things with a client, and I'm like, hey, what's the one that really resonated with you? Start with that. If I tell you to get a vibration plate or a trampoline and that's not your thing, and maybe you just want to do a qigong shake first thing in the morning, or maybe you're going to focus on hydrating better because that resonated with you, as you know, oh yeah, I don't understand structured water, and I know that hydration would move the needle for me in my health journey. I think it's just that first thing. And when someone comes in and presents something or you read something, you have like, I think this full body knowing that I know that's part of my next steps. And recently for me, it was when I came across the oxalate issue. For me, spinach always caused an issue when I ate it. It left a film in my mouth. And so to know that spinach is so high in oxalates and it's so stressful on the kidneys and it can cause joint pain and inflammation, which has been, I think a root cause for a lot of people's disease is inflammation. But it was like this great aha moment for me of, oh, I had it in all these oxalates like almonds and spinach, not realizing that maybe my body can't handle that. I need to take a step back and know that, man, spinach has never worked for me. I had to force myself to eat spinach. Why did I force myself to eat spinach? I think that's the other reason I'm so passionate about this is I know how many people have gone down the rabbit hole and hurt themselves by a seed that was planted, whether it's by a doctor, a practitioner, or by society. I mean, the fat-free craze. The fat-free craze caused so many people to lose their gallbladders. And it breaks my heart to this day to know that when any diet, the word die is in diet, and the idea that you would ever implement a long-term diet and think that you're going to find optimal health, it's just ludicrous. It's all things in balance. Isn't that what we've always wanted to know? Short term, there can be some health benefits and food elimination diets or going down and exploring some different things, but never long term.
And even like vegan diet or keto diet, it's not a lifetime diet. You can do it for a short period of time to overcome certain things.
Absolutely.
But I never believe that is for long term because it's not lifestyle. Diet is the short term, usually it's restriction.
Yes, and I think we're so confused by that because we think, oh no, this is what I have to eat for the rest of my life. Oh man, and how sad and like depressing is that?
Somebody recently asked me what diet I'm on.
What'd you say?
Because I'm like, health coach and they're looking like,
oh,
just
you
curious.
Look great, so I need to know what you're doing because I'm going to do it, and that way I'll look as good as you.
And I said, Mal, I don't believe in diets. It's a lifestyle. You ask me what I eat every day, but maybe it's not the best for you. So I don't believe in diets, and that's how I teach my clients. Even weight loss program, I'm gonna give you tools. What is your lifestyle look like? What's your nutrition look like? But it's not a diet. Diet is a short-term goal setting, and it's usually restriction, and it's usually people go back to the way they were before.
Yeah, and that's why it has to become a lifestyle thing. That like I'm going to limit gluten to where I'm going to go to find great healthy sources of it, organic, or I'm going to make my own organic sourdough, but it doesn't have to be my everyday thing. How do we rotate our foods and get diversity in our diets, connect with nature, know where our food comes from, and if we can grow it, that would be ideal, but if we can't, do we know our farmers and can we know that it came from a local source, and can we eat in season as much as possible?
Tell me more about Zach Bush program. How did you find it? Why it was attracted to you? And what did you learn by going through his program?
If you've heard Dr. Zach Bush speak, he speaks so from the heart.
He's very passionate.
He's very passionate, and he specialized in endocrinology. So there's a wisdom about him. He started the journey of intrinsic health, and the year the program started, it's an 8-point program to wellness, is the same year he closed the clinic where he was actually, people were coming from all over the world to the M clinic to be cured. And he just realized that they all think he had the answers. And that was the whole point of the journey of intrinsic health. It is not a program or a fix or a self-help. It is literally about creating a lifestyle, but helping you tap into your innate knowing, helping you find your sovereignty when it comes to healing your life, managing your life, and knowing that you hold the keys, that you are in power, that you don't need anything but you in order to get well. And I think that was such a fantastic message, and that he really lived that message when he closed the clinic down and was like, we are here to heal ourselves. And then as we heal ourselves, we heal the world around us. His whole message about getting back to nature, getting quiet, tapping in and listening to what's coming up for you, what's your truth, what's resonating with you, finding your harmonic alignment was one of his words. And it was really interesting as I was coming up with a name for the company that I was trying to create and what I was trying to create as a musician coming into health, like what am I bringing to the table? And I had come up with this harmonic alignment and I was sitting with it. It's like, okay, will this resonate with people? Will this make sense? Because people know what harmonic is, they know what alignment is, but they understand these two words together. And I heard Dr. Zach on a podcast say, well, that's why we're here, to find our harmonic alignment. And I was like, yeah. So that was my great confirmation. But the journey of intrinsic health is really, it can be an 8-week journey. It can be a 3-month journey. It can be how long it takes you to really understand who you are. And there's some practical things like how to hydrate correctly and how to rest and the importance of rest and improving your sleep and how to play. Because I think a lot of people who get really into this and their wellness, they forget to have joy and fun, and connection is one of the other ones. Like, you don't heal in isolation, that we only heal when we're in community. And one of his favorite things is to give people hugs. Like the microbiome exchange when we hug somebody and the healing effect of how we're exchanging energy and what's going on in the air was really key. As COVID hit, it realized that nobody understood health. And our idea of health was these poisonous hand sanitizers that are contaminating and hurting our skin and hurting the environment. And knowing that we are more viruses and bacteria than we are anything else in our body, and that why would we fear one virus or one bacteria? And that only happens when we're out of balance with nature, out of balance, out of harmony with ourselves, when our immune system has been compromised. And why is that? And can we peel back those layers to help you get to what is your optimal health so that anything that comes your way, you're resilient? A virus is here to help you upgrade in health, not to actually hurt you in health. But if it's coming along and you're struggling with it, then we need to figure out why you're struggling with it, because there's some things that need to be addressed. And whether that's the physical, the emotional, the chemical, you can start to unravel that for yourself, but you can have some guides along the way.
Even microbiome lives in a community. There is different community of microbiome. There is bacteria, viruses, fungicides, parasites. Yeah. So they all live in one community and they do their own work. And of course, if one community become bigger, they overcome other communities. So that's why everything like in communication, the energy between those communities.
Yeah. And I think the big aha moment, and I heard Dr. Bush say this, is that we have written man out of the definition of nature. He said, what if everything was conspiring for your highest good? What if that parasite, that fungus, that bacteria, the virus was actually always here to help you upgrade? Instead of it being an enemy, what if it was there to support you? I think that's the message that needs to happen for people, is that things are unfolding. Nature itself unfolds for our highest good, and it isn't man versus nature. It's man in harmony with nature is how we continue to exist on this planet in a beautiful and harmonious way. And we have to figure that out sooner rather than later, whether it's the infertility issue or the soil and having enough crops for the foreseeable future. Like, we have to connect back with nature and stop fighting nature and embrace nature. Every time we go after something and try to eliminate it in nature, whether it's the weed we're trying to kill, Mother Nature, for a while, the thing dies and it dies, and then it comes back, and whatever you were killing it with, you can no longer kill with it. Why? Why would I try to conquer that? And wouldn't I work in harmony with it and find a way to exist with it and support each other with it?
Even when you create a garden, not the modern way, but if you look how a garden were created before, everything was in harmony. Right. One herb helped other not to overcome or provide space. So if you put all this together as it's supposed to be, nothing is harmful, everything is flourish. And that's what our body is. If you give something that our body needs and remove something that doesn't need, it's just automatically leave your body because it cannot survive in a good environment.
Right.
Like, how do we get rid of bad people?
Right.
We just don't communicate with them anymore and they just leave.
Right.
You don't even need
Right.
to say anything because
Right.
it's not doesn't resonate with you anymore, or they don't resonate
Right.
with you. When
Anymore.
you become better
Yeah.
or different person, those people just disappear. And same with everything in life, like
Right.
even garden, even parasites that might leave your body because it's not conducive for them to live.
So now it's time for them to leave. And
There's
that's,
nothing to eat, so don't feed them bad stuff that
Right.
they like, and now they don't survive.
When your cells
and
are
live.
healthy and optimized, the parasites have no job anymore. They only go after the dead stuff. So they're just going to be like, oh, time to go. So
So everything in alignment
everything's in alignment.
and harmonic alignment.
Right.
How do you work with these clients?
I can do remote sessions or in person. Health coaching is really, what I work with. But we can work on everything from finding your voice through singing to energy medicine through bioenergetics or biofeedback. I really just sit down, see what the client is looking for, what they're dealing with, and then we kind of create a roadmap forward of how can we help them find their alignment so that they can live their best life.
And what's the best way people can find you?
So you can go to harmonicalignment.co, and you can also find me on social media, Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. PriscillaCoblentz.com is also my music, and there's also links back to my Harmonic Alignment website.
Do you sing for your clients?
Sure. Yeah, if the time calls for it, absolutely.
Because that's
Yeah.
vibration.
That's vibration, right? And it's even better when they start to sing too.
Or sing together.
We all sing together. I love that.
I love to sing together.
Right? It feels good, right? Let's share the music.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. L. I appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed today's episode of Harmonic Alignment. If something resonated with you, we would love to hear about it. Please consider leaving us a 5-star review and subscribing so you don't miss an upcoming episode. Thank you. The information contained in this podcast is provided for informational purposes only and not intended for the purpose of diagnosing, treating, curing, or preventing any disease. Before using any products referenced on the podcast, consult with your healthcare provider. Carefully read all labels and directions. The products and information received through the podcast should not be used to replace a consultation or advice from your healthcare provider. If you suspect you have a medical problem or have any healthcare questions, please promptly call your healthcare provider. This podcast, including Dr. Larissa Sharipova and Priscilla Coblentz, and the producers are not responsible for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained in this podcast. This podcast may contain endorsements and advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct financial benefit to the product or services referenced.